Hi, my name's Sophie. I'm an artist, illustrator, printmaker from the UK. Thank you for having me on this interview, it's very kind. So I sort of have always been very creative from a young age. I knew I wanted to be an artist when I was sort of like 7. I remember saying to my parents, "Oh, I want to be an artist one day," not really knowing what that meant. But I'd seen my grandparents both do it. They're both artists, and my mum later became a painter. So that was always kind of ingrained within me. I didn't really know I could do it as a job. I said I wanted to be an artist, but I didn't know what that meant. It was always a thing when I was younger where we had this deal, me and my sister, with my parents, where we could stay up later if we were doing something creative. So whether that was drawing or painting or writing songs or anything like that, it was quite a good incentive, you know. If we were doing something creative, we didn't have to go to sleep. The themes within my work stem from feeling alienated and lost in society. I think this comes from my early childhood when I had an eye problem, which meant I wore an eye patch for a lot of time, you know, in school and things, and that became quite difficult for me. I think people thought I was weird, and from a young age I always felt quite different to other people. My biggest influences, I think, come from, I'm inspired by everything really, from music to, you know, animation and any type of visual art is really inspiring to me. My biggest influences in terms of artists are, you know, the masters like Titian and Rembrandt. I love the etchings of Goya. But more contemporary artists include Miles Johnston, who I think really inspired me during lockdown to push with the medium of graphite and see what I could do with that. And I really took up drawing seriously from that point. More recently, I've been very inspired by an illustrator called Julia Soboliva. Her work is just beautiful and really hits deep with me. Those two kind of combined amongst many others. James Jean, love the late Kim Jung-gi, his drawings are insane, and a combination of all of those artists together sort of make the work that I do now. Currently, I'm working on probably the most difficult drawing I've done to date. It's going to be sort of 50 plus hours when I'm finished in a couple of days. I'm just finishing my final year at Falmouth University on an illustration degree, and after this I hope to possibly study at the Royal Drawing School in London for a year, and then become a full-time artist. The biggest challenge, I think, of being an artist is trying to find your voice amongst everyone else. You know, there's a massive sea of artists, there's hundreds of us, and I think it can be quite challenging to try and find that voice, but when you found it, it's kind of very freeing and you feel like you can express yourself. And I was quite lucky. I think I found a certain quality that my work had earlier on than most people. I know there are some people in my course right now still trying to figure it out, and I think that's okay as well. What I would tell my younger self, I think to not be disheartened when you see artists producing much better work than you when they're 10 years on from you. I think it's very easy on social media to look at, you know, amazing paintings and drawings and being like, oh, I'm never going to be that good. But then you realise they're 10 years ahead of their career, you know. And I think that certainly was a problem for me when I was younger a little bit. I was sort of like, I'm not going to be that good ever. Some unconventional techniques I've tried have been ink and bleach, actually. That was a fun one. You get some really nice marks with that. in the first year of my degree, we did a lot of experimentation drawing with like sticks and old materials and things. I think it's really important to experiment earlier on when you have the chance to, before you sort of settle on a way of working. Yeah, so when I work, I like to work in silence or listening to podcasts and things like this. I find music kind of is quite emotional, and I like to focus all my attention on the drawing, and sometimes I can get quite lost in the music. Although music is very inspiring to me too. The best reaction someone had to my artwork was probably when I posted it online. It was a drawing of me, lots of faces, and it was a self-portrait pretty much, and someone commented, "This isn't your work," which I thought was funny, as it was a self-portrait of me. I hope people will take away with confidence the notion that, you know, if you put the hours in, you can really make anything work. Like, sometimes detail can look very like astonishing and like, wow, that must have been so hard, but you know, if you practice every day, if you do life drawing if you draw from life constantly, and you take a sketchbook with you everywhere you go, you'll improve exponentially with time. Thank you so much for this interview. It's been really fun, and I hope you've enjoyed